Hello everyone, in this episode of Let's Play Kirby 64 The Crystal Shards, we are going to be facing the boss of Aqua Star. Let's get right into it. The boss of Aqua Star, the one who's been throwing all those rocks at us, is a killer whale, or orca as they're sometimes otherwise known, who spits a variety of enemies at us, including our old friends the bonefish. The cutter power-up once again proves to be rather useful because it's one of the only powers that you can get in this boss fight, as opposed to not in this boss fight. He does create quite more than enough ammunition for you to use against him, but using the cutter is not that helpful. It's actually better just to swallow the enemies and spit them back at him or throw them at him. He has only a couple of attacks, one of which is this sort of belly flop onto the seafloor. The other is to swoop in from the background and attack Kirby with the vengeance of a killer whale. This boss is not, I would not call him difficult, but he can be quite tricky due to the sluggish underwater controls in this game, which make it somewhat hard to get your attacks on target, but don't seem to affect him in any way, since, of course, this is his home element. You can see he swoops forward, then sweeps into the background, then swoops forward again, and sweeps upward, and then he comes crashing down into the seafloor, making full use of the fact that we are now fighting in 3 dimensions instead of just 2, or at least he is fighting in 3 dimensions. Kirby still seems to be fighting in just 2. You want to try to stay off the seafloor, since Kirby's walking controls underwater are so much more sluggish than they are above water that you're going to take quite a lot of damage just trying to avoid his attacks. Looks like he's not going to do his belly flop attack this time. Instead, he's going to sweep in and then dive bomb us, which causes a rock to come up from the seafloor, which we can spit at him, and I missed, of course. As I said, the underwater controls are quite sluggish in this game, and they make fights in the underwater sections of this game quite difficult, whether it's the mini-boss of the last level that we've played through, or it's this fight. And he's going to belly flop me and kill me, of course, because I could not get out of the way fast enough. So let's go ahead and jump right back in again. We have 4 lives left. Why not? Alright, you Orca. Spit me out something that I can spit it right back in your face. He'll spit skulls at you, which tell me the fact that he was in fact a man-eater at one time. He'll also spit bonefish, which means that he ate fish as well. Yes, he's quite a vicious creature, and the undisputed ruler of this planet for sure. But I suppose he too must have been corrupted by the dark... I don't even know if he was corrupted by the dark matter, come to think of it. If he was, then, well, I hate to... I would have to imagine that he would have been just as much of a despot as he is now, before, because why else would he eat fish and people? There you are, Kirby. Good job. Ouch. He smacked us with his tail, but we've got him down to around half of his health by now, and we've only lost 1 of our health cells. We're doing much better this time. Now you might have been thinking, well, this video isn't going to be very long. It's only a boss fight after all, right? Wrong. I did that on purpose because I knew that this boss fight was going to take me more than 1 try. Because this is actually one of my least favorite boss fights in this game. I even enjoy fighting the final boss more than I enjoy fighting this one. I just cannot abide the underwater controls in this game. For some reason, they always seem to me to be very awkward, very slow, very unresponsive. They don't give me the sort of controls that I'm used to from this game. most often the controls in this game are very tight, very smooth, very easy to use. Not so in this level, and we just destroyed him off screen. Oh my, and the explosion of him dying actually causes the cavern to completely start to break apart, and all sorts of rocks and pieces of everything are starting to rain down on us. Swim for your life, Kirby. We only have one health cell left. But can we get out of the cavern in time? Why hasn't the boss fight ended by now? Shouldn't it have? Oh no. It looks like it shouldn't have. Because the Orca actually has 2 stages to the fight. One stationary in the water, and the other swimming upwards to try to escape the cavern. Looks like we're going to have to do this fight again. Hopefully we'll do it better this time. Ah, you blocked my attack with your attack, fiend. Take that. Just swim under him when he's going to do his belly flop. Ouch. Ow. Fiend. Yes, as you can see, what I mentioned about Kirby running underwater is very true. He is very slow when he's running. So you want to try to stay up in the water as much as you can, because otherwise you're not going to have much of a chance of dodging his attacks at all. There, take that. The second stage is harder than this stage, so you want to try to save as much of your own health as you can before heading to that stage. Otherwise, you're going to lose this fight quite badly. Looks like we only have 2 more hits to lay on him, because all of his own projectiles actually do about the same amount of damage to him. So long as you're able to hit him with his own projectiles, or perhaps with a bonefish, you shouldn't have much of a problem. There we are. And this time we get to see his death animation as he slowly drifts to the bottom of the cavern. And the cavern begins to break apart just as it did before, and we have to swim for our lives upward to avoid being crushed by the falling rocks. Most of which fall in the background, so you don't need to worry about hitting them. But as you can probably see, Kirby is more or less swimming stationary as the world moves around him, up until the boss reappears, and then he begins moving upward in earnest, which means that you have to be careful, because the boss moves much faster than you do underwater still, and it's very easy for him to trap you. He has two new attacks. He can fire torpedoes from his mouth. I don't know exactly how, but he can. And he can also go down deeper in the water and then sweep up forward and then come down again through the background. As I said, this stage is somewhat harder than his first stage, but it isn't completely harder, since you can just sit on the side basically sit on the side here, out of his range, and attack him from over here, because he stays in the middle of the arena, which is something that you are not limited to. There, hit him with a double star. That does twice the amount of damage. Ah, we missed him. We had a chance there to finish him off, but we missed him. One more, Shamus. There we go. Now sink down into the depths of the cold, dead planet you rule. Kirby, you earned this crystal. Well done. Well done indeed. And our friends are taking a well-deserved break here on the water's edge after destroying that horrible killer whale. And they're skipping rocks out in the ocean, but unfortunately the ocean seems to think that Kirby's elaborate wind-up is him waving, and it decides to wave back. Meaning that poor Kirby winds up quite waterlogged. Have you ever tried to bite into a soggy marshmallow? It isn't fun. And by the time Kirby recovers, his friends are already off onto the next world. But thankfully he manages to follow along to Neostar. Perhaps the most diverse level that we've faced so far, at least in terms of terrain. I see volcanoes, jungle, deserts. well, we'll have to see what that world is like in the very next episode of Let's Play Kirby 64: The Crystal Shards. We'll see you all then. Good night.